Hello and welcome to The Debrief. I am your host. My name is Seth Ressler, and this is a show that is really designed to help Detroit artists and entertainers, Detroit creatives as we like to call them, to further their skill set, to get a little bit farther in their professional career. And today we are talking about Instagram. This, of course, is a hugely important social media channel for a lot of artists and entertainers. It's how they get discovered. It's how they find new opportunities. And it's how people find them. So we wanted to find out from an Instagram expert today, what are mistakes that you may be making on your Instagram channel. I want to welcome to the show a woman who we have had on many times before. She is the co-owner and director of hipindetroit.com. It's a lifestyle brand that's all about Detroit. It includes a blog, a podcast, videos, and a lot more. She also manages social media and marketing for a number of local organizations, and she teaches classes about social media management. Welcome to the show. Welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks.
Sadie
Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, I'm excited, actually.
I'm thrilled to have you back on because we've gotten advice from you before on Instagram.
Absolutely.
And it's been absolutely fantastic. And it's something that a lot of local Detroit artists and entertainers can really, I think, take advantage of. So we wanted to bring you back to talk about things that people may be doing that they shouldn't be doing, particularly artists and entertainers when they're promoting themselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's start here. Why is it so important for artists and entertainers, for creative people to be on Instagram?
Okay, well, first off, out of all the social media platforms, which, we've got Facebook, we got TikTok, we've got Twitter, and then we have a lot of more obscure social media platforms. Instagram is still where people are most likely to follow a brand or company or band or artist, and they're most likely to take an action. So to show up at a show, to show up at an event, to make a purchase. So out of all the platforms, Instagram is still what I'm focusing on. It's also important because a lot of people see it as your social media website. If you don't have a website, if you don't have a debrief.com, a hipindetroit.com, your Instagram is kind of seen as your .com.
And I've seen so many artists and entertainers who don't have a website. Look, it can be pricey to put a website together. I mean, it's easier than it used to be, but often they don't. And so they are using a social media channel. So yeah, this is really
and
important.
Honestly, I would say at this point, it is easier and probably more useful to you to just have an Instagram. If, a website is something, if you're maybe trying to sell records or you're trying to have more, hard stuff like that, or like a centralized place, that's great. But if you don't have the money, use Instagram as your storefront and use it as your centralized place.
I will say in the course of doing this podcast, one of the things that we've noticed is how many creatives are on Instagram. And I found that that's not necessarily always the case with different things. For example, podcasters I frequently find on Twitter, but when we interact with local artists, Twitter's not nearly as popular as Instagram.
So I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make across all social media is that they pick the wrong channels. Twitter is dying, but if you are in politics, if you are a comedian, if you are podcasting, those areas still do really well. So there's still an advantage. But maybe as a musical artist, that's not the avenue for you anymore. Facebook is also a dying platform, but not to a certain age group. So if you're looking for a certain age, or you're looking for a certain demographic, or you're looking to have really good sponsored ads, that's still kind of your place to go. Whereas like TikTok now is your super creative place. And then with that, the funny thing is people think, you can put Twitter stuff on Facebook. You can put Facebook stuff on Instagram. TikTok is TikTok. You put TikToks up. And you can put those on other channels, but it doesn't work the other way.
Right.
So I think the biggest mistake people make with that is you can't just be like, oh, I'm throwing this up. Nope, you got to play the TikTok game, and that's a whole different game.
All right. Well, I know we've got a number of mistakes that we're going to walk through. Let's talk about the first mistake that people make, and that is not having a strategic plan when it comes to Instagram. What do you mean by that?
What I mean by that is most people do not even know what they want to get out of their social media. So the first thing that I make people establish is, what are your goals? Is this just going to be a platform where you you're kind of going to use it as a website. So you want to make sure that you have really pretty pictures or that it's really easy to access information. Whatever the link is on your Instagram at that point, you want it to link towards the thing you want them to buy or the next show that you want them to go to. So what I tell people is I sit down month to month and I map out a strategy. What holidays are coming up this month? What releases do I have? What shows do I have? What events do I have? What things do I want to push? So not only do I already know what I'm talking about, but now I can start collecting the content throughout my day. I mean, you saw me right before we sat down. I was taking photos. I'm taking photos that I'm going to post whenever we put this up. Those are for later. But my point is that I know within the next month I have to promote this, so I'm thinking ahead. I have a strategy.
All right.
So I just think you need to have a goal and you need to have a way to work towards it.
So when you sit down with somebody to talk about what is your Instagram strategy, what sort of questions are you asking to figure out, the right strategy?
Well, the first thing is what is the call to action that you want people to take? Do you want people to buy something? Do you want people to go somewhere? Because everything has to point towards that. Everything I post, all my about me's, all my logos, all my graphics, I'm going to make everything towards the goal that I have or the action that I want you to take. So the strategy a lot of times is just how many times I'm going to post, what those posts are going to be, and kind of planning. The worst thing that you can do in social media, it's all on the fly, but not really.
Right.
So that St. Patrick's Day is coming up. You know that summer's coming up. Like those kind of things, you can start to get ready for yourself so you're not always, I say like chasing the dragon, which is probably an inappropriate term now, but like always chasing something. You shouldn't be chasing something. Everything should sort of be playing into your strategy in the first place. And if you know you have a show coming up, maybe you're going to promote a little bit more towards a show and then back off if you don't have something to promote. Why are we even posting unless we're going to post, maybe some relatable content about ourselves instead? You always want to have something, you're telling a story, right? So that's sometimes a strategy. I just mean, what's your story? Who are you? Who, what, where, when, and why? Who I am, what I want to do, where I'm doing it or how I'm doing it, why I'm doing it, and then those kind of feed all your other things. You could be going live at practices. You can kind of fit in. It's just, what do you want to sell? What do you want to talk about? What is your strategy to even be talking about? I find that a lot of people think they have to just copy what other people are doing, which is the worst strategy. I think it's just having a plan for what you're going to do, but also what you want to get out of it. Because I find that a lot of people will also what they want to do, but then never, nobody is buying any records or nobody's showing up at the shows. Well, did you tell them that?
Right.
And people are very nervous to take an action, especially post-COVID. So anything that you can do in your strategy to make it easier to take an action, I tell people, if you're holding an event, show me a picture of the parking lot. Show me a picture of the door guy. Tell me what to expect before I get there. So it's just kind of thinking in advance about what roadblocks you would have to making people take an action. Because, people think, I posted it once, it's out there, everybody knows. Literally no one knows. Maybe 7% of your followers saw that. Maybe, that's on a really good post, probably 1% to 2%. So it's, strategy of I'm going to hit this. One of my strategies is what time of day are my people looking at this account? Should I be posting in the morning so that they know about it to come at night? These are all the little strategies that kind of help you figure out how to reach people. So determining where you want to be online, the message that you want to send, and then how you're going to send it is sort of what I go through with my clients.
Are you using anything like a calendar or any external documents?
I've used everything. Okay, I've used every planner, everything ever. If you use something that is pre-scheduling for you, Instagram knows. So they're going to show it to less people. So I always think it's weird to do a lot of work and a lot of effort and know that from the start it's going to be seen by less. So I recommend trying to do things organically, but everything that I talk about is the best case scenario. So if posting at the best time for you, because for a few of my clients right now, 6 a.m. is killing it. I'm not going to be up and ready at 6 a.m. I'm up by 7 or 8, but 6 is a little early. So those posts are going out with the planner. I tend to build a lot of my content on Google Docs. I build out questions that I'm going to answer a lot. Maybe if you have a question you're getting a lot, where do I get your album? I have that copy paste ready to go so that I can answer it all the time really quick. And then, I'll build out I like Google because I'm a Google person, but I'll just build out a calendar on there. I also am a paper person. Sometimes I'll just pull out a calendar and I'll start with, okay, these are the 6 holidays I have this month or the 6 things I want to cover. Week 1, I'm talking about this. Week 2, I'm talking about this. And then I already know where I'm going. So even if I don't have the posts ready per se, which I'll collect photos and I'll collect one-liners, maybe when I'm driving around and I hear a quote or something, I'll throw that into a Google document for when I'm ready to use it. It's just always planning what you're going to be doing before you do it. That helps with spelling mistakes. That helps with just getting things out on the right time, and always not feeling like you have a roadblock. If you don't have anything in your head that day, open up the document. Oh, I got a good quote and a good photo. Boom, I got a post.
Now, I'm hearing you talking about writing things out in advance, but it sounds like you're not just talking about posts. You're also talking about maybe comments or answers, replies you may get to people.
Yes, because the faster, it's all a game. They want to keep you on these apps. The more you do with, the more things you use on Instagram, the higher they rate you. So if you're using video and you're using this and that, the faster you comment, they know your account is real and a real person is there. So they're going to show your content to more people. I know you've probably seen on Facebook too. They'll show how fast this account replies. If you reply instantly, that's a better account to them. So anytime you can do something, unfortunately feeding it, that helps you. So I just try to make everything easy because it can be extremely overwhelming. And for something like an event or a band or something like that, you're going to answer the same question. It's going to be the same 4 questions. There's always a little outlier, but it literally is the same. And those questions help too. If there's a question that you're getting over and over, that's now your strategy. That's a broken link that you're not answering. So now we're going to start using our posts and our stories to answer that. That's content. That's an idea. That's what people want. Right. So a lot of times I take that as feedback of okay, my story's missing this link. I need to get this in there.
All right, let's talk about mistake number 2 that people are making, focusing on followers instead of interaction.
Yeah, so I know that when we talk about streaming platforms and trying to get, with artists and stuff and trying to get help, I know that we talk about they won't even look at me because I only have 1,000 followers, right? I know that's true. I know there's some value to that. But on the flip side, let's say you only have 1,000 followers, but all your posts are getting 500 likes or 20 comments. They are going to look at that. So what I tell people to think about is, especially if you have something that's super localized, I know some stuff is a national and more of a worldwide platform, but if you have a brick and mortar store or you have an event that you're going to, you really can only find people in a small area, right? You can't, somebody in California, it's great that they follow you, but they're not going to come to this show this week. So what I'm always telling people is, think about if you have 100 followers and you have, let's say 50 of them, half of them taking an action, you have the best account in the world. So the best accounts, these huge Google accounts and whatever it is, Azos or Glossier, whatever brands we're talking about, if they're getting 12% interaction, they are killing it. So I just tell people, focus on the people who already like you. Those are your bread and butter. They are going to be the people that will post about you. Maybe they'll also share your show or your event or your album or tag you in something. And, when we're looking for a place to get our hair cut, we're looking online. But if we know that our friend gets their haircut there, we're getting our haircut there, right? We're going to that place. So it's sort of the game of these people already like you. What do they like? Which posts do they like? Maybe we should be doing more of those posts. And I just think instead of thinking about, I need to have this amount of followers, cater to the followers that you already have, get them super, super interested, and use them to grow and expand. Because every time they tag you and they say, listen to Seth's podcast, listen to the debrief, somebody is going to click on that and they are going to listen to your podcast. And that's a way better lead than just a shot in the dark, because that person is more likely to like the same topics that their friend likes. Their person is more likely to take their friend as, you can see Khloe Kardashian post about, a tea or a coffee. But if you see Sadie post about it and you know me, you're going to go get it more likely. So it's great to have a lot of followers. I've seen people buy followers. It's the worst idea. If you buy followers, they're not going to interact with your account, so your interaction is going to go down. So just stop focusing on how many people. If you got 10, Give those 10 people the best you can give them. Get them to interact with every post, and you will get more people by default.
This sounds a lot like the 80-20 rule, right? Where you have the 20% that are really your super fans that you're gonna super serve, and then everybody else, they're less likely to interact. So you're saying really super serve your super fans.
The thing about popular culture and the thing about the world is me and you grew up in a monoculture. Everybody saw Janet Jackson at the Super Bowl.
Right.
Everybody saw JFK, right? These are all moments that we experienced, we talked about the next day.
JFK, I'm not that old.
I'm saying, right, not us, but like everybody knew that. That was a monoculture. We all understood who Paris Hilton was.
Right.
We all understood who Guns N' Roses was. These were things we all understood. We knew what these people did, right? We had TMZ even like following these people's lives. That does not exist anymore in any way, shape, or form. You can have a counterculture following of anything that can be worth millions of dollars. You don't have to be liked by everybody. And I would argue that if you're trying to market to everybody, you're literally marketing to no one. We were talking about video games. I don't like video games. There's no post that you can make to make me like video games. If that's who you are, why would you want me following you?
Right.
So find people who really like video games and you will do just fine. I promise you that. They will bring along more people who like those things.
All right. Let's take a look at mistake number 3, not taking advantage of Instagram stories.
So there's so many reasons that you have to take advantage of Instagram stories.
And explain what that is.
Okay, so you have your static feed, your post, you see 3 at a time across, that kind of feed that we're all used to. But then you also have stories. A feed exists, quote unquote, forever. So I tell people to make that your pretty storefront. That's where people are coming in, they're looking at what you're doing. But your stories, that's your fun. That's your 24-hour and it's gone, unless you put it in highlights. So your stories are supposed to be light. They can be totally off the cuff. They don't need to be edited. So they're more of like your personal aspect to stuff, and that's what's really gonna hook people in. A lot of times I'll say to people, especially like a small business or a band, I can listen to a lot of music. I can buy soap from anywhere. Why would I buy soap from you? Oh, because you make it in this special place with your hands, with these ingredients that you've sourced. So your stories are your place to tell your story and to have fun, to make social media super, super fun. But they're also, for me, the best resource for getting shared. Nobody wants to make their own stories. So if I can make good stories, for instance, today Planet Ant is having an event and I tagged every bar and every artist. And it's just getting reshared and reshared and reshared. So my post might only get 30 to 50 likes, but my story is gonna get somewhere between 300 and 1,000 views at least. And every time it gets reshared, it's being reshared to people who presumably care about bands or care about those bars or care about that event. So it's just a better way to reach people. It's supposed to be fun, so it doesn't have to be, you can put up a lot of funny things you can put up, but I always tell people, tell a story in stories. Don't just make it a bunch of random stuff. Tell a story, whatever the story is. So if you only have one photo, let's say you have a flyer for a show, you don't have any other materials. I would argue you should probably take some selfies and stuff. People like to see people. But you can take that flyer and you can write across it in, letters that are like popping, show tonight, and then the next slide, 4 p.m., and then the next slide, tag all the bands. And you can make that into a fun thing. People love to click through. But also, TikTok is taking off. TikTok is now kind of the standard to how people are experiencing. We like the quick, I think, we'll see. I'm an expert, right? That's what we're calling me on this podcast. I think what Instagram is going to try to do is compete with TikTok. I think Reels is going to end up being TikTok for them. I think what you're going to end up seeing as we go up like this for TikTok, I think you're going to start seeing multiple Reels across. You're kind of already seeing it, but I think we're going to start going right to left to watch Reels, just like we watch TikTok. It'll be a video-only content, and I think we're going to watch it.
So let's talk about Instagram Reels, because that's a relatively new feature within Instagram. And that really is their TikTok sort of clone.
It's also, you can put a reel in stories. They're kind of like an interchangeable thing. So if you make a reel and you make it on your feed, you can share it in your stories and then help it get more reach that way. But basically a reel is just TikTok. It's an edited video, a few clips, throwing music on it. And people get so intimidated by this. I was just at my salon talking to the girls, and she's like, I never know what to do. And I was like, a picture or a video before, zoom in, zoom out, a video after.
Right.
7 seconds. Your bread and butter is 7 seconds. I wish I could say, it's somewhere between 7 and 15 seconds. It used to be people liked 30 seconds. The attention spans, because of TikTok, they're gone. So I just try to give people some flashes, quick flashes of something. If I had a show tonight, let's say, maybe I would do the entrance to the door, a shot of the stage, and a shot of a beer, and be like, tonight, come see us at 8 o'clock. Just give people little glimpses of stuff, quick cuts. They love it. It works so well.
I want to go back to Instagram stories for a moment, because I know that Instagram made a change last year. They introduced something in 2021, which is, you can't always put a link in your Instagram post if you don't have enough followers or if you're not a verified account. But they did make it so that anybody could put a link in a Instagram story. So if you are selling tickets to an event, for example, you can put out a link to tickets, right?
Yeah, it was one of the best things that ever happened to me. So, the thing about Instagram is they do reward you for having more followers. So you do unlock, every time you go up 5,000, 10,000, 20,000, 100,000. But there's funny ways around a lot of that stuff too. There's a lot of third-party apps to be able to use stuff. So always use Google if you want to do something. You can probably do it. I find a way around everything. I put music on all my business accounts, and I'm definitely not supposed to be able to do that. So, tips and tricks, there's lots of them. There's somebody who's figured it out. But yeah, they let you put a link now. So I put a link for everything. One of the biggest breaks that I've found in my work is that people are so lazy. If you do not tell them exactly where to go or give them exactly where to go, they're not going there, period. So yes, links and stories is awesome. I can put the direct ticket link. I can put the direct story, the direct podcast. And then I do that, and I also make sure I tag everybody. One of my tricks with tagging in stories is I know people can kind of feel intimidated, like, should I be tagging Seth? Maybe Seth doesn't want to be tagged in this. You can tag, and then you can bring it down to the corner so nobody can directly see it. Now, if they clicked on the story, they would see who was tagged in it, but nobody does that, trust me. That's not a thing. So I tag anybody and anyone. If there's a play going on, anybody I think might reshare it. And that's my best trick for getting accounts to grow.
So let's move into mistake number 4, and that is not having a clear call to action. And this is something that you touched on before, but talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I end every single post with a call to action, and I don't always just end. So that first sentence is your bread and butter. Your first sentence when you make a post on your static feed, they're going to show you that. And that's what, people... The general rule is, and it changes, I actually look at wording and then pictures, but generally when people look at Instagram, they look at the photo first, and then they look at the first line. If the photo and the line hooks them in, then they look at your body and they look at your call to action. So you have all these levels you have to get through before they even know what you want them to do, unless it's like on the photo. But then wording on photos, people like to think we love to think things are happening on the fly, even though we know they're staged. That's probably, we can throw that into another one of my pet peeves later. You have to make it look like you weren't trying, but it definitely should look like you were trying. It's interesting. Oh my God, I just lost my train of thought. ADD. So that's why my brain works different. Like I was saying, I read things different because I read first before photos. Don't know why, but it's something I do. And I know that that's different. So with the call to action, it's like you have to hook me in, you have to get me interested, and then you literally have to tell me what to do. And it needs to be laid out. If it's, you need to come to this place at this time, $8, it has to be cash. Like anything that you can feed me to make it easier for me to take that action. Link in bio. If you're going to have a link in bio and you're going to tell everybody to go there, do you have up-to-date links? If I click there and I find a broken link, I am never coming back again. Like you have just stopped that whole action from happening. So it's just making sure that it's really clear what you want me to do.
So let's talk about link in bio, because when people are posting, not to stories where we had pointed out that they can put a link, but if they're posting to just a post and they don't have enough followers that allows them to include a link in that, often what people do is they say, see the link in my bio, because that's the one place in Instagram where you can put links that people can get to. What about tools like Linktree that allow people to put multiple links in that bio?
So I like Linktree, and I do use it on a lot of my accounts. My only warning about Linktree is if you are using Linktree, they get your website traffic. So if you're using your website to source who's coming, trying to see what your bounce rates are, that kind of stuff, it'll really mess up your SEO. And you want to actually be directing people SEO-wise to a website, right? So I do like Linktree. Just if you're not using a website, perfect for that. If you're trying to use your website to figure out who your customers are, don't use that. What I do if I want to actually put the link in the post, because there's so many disconnects for what people understand. People don't understand you can't put a link on Instagram, and you also can't copy and paste it like you can on other platforms. You literally have to put it down and type www.thedebrief into something, right? I use Bitly to shrink it so that it's only 6 things that they would have to copy and paste in, and I literally write, you can find some of the links in bio. If you want to go directly there, copy and paste these 7 things into your web browser. And I, again, trying to make it as super as easy as possible, because I want to hit every person for how they want to embrace that material.
Got it. So you're real specific. I mean, sometimes granular with your calls to action.
I run an account for a city, for a specific city. And if I don't put the address on the business that I post about at the bottom of a post, there will be somebody who comments, what's the address? Right. And I always say,
here's how you pay your parking tickets. Right?
No, but this is the city. It's going to be in this city, So people want you to be their Google. They want you to make it so easy on them. And then when it is easy, let's be honest, a lot of purchases, a lot of actions are on the fly. So I need to make it easy for you to do that. Yeah. That's why they have, shop. You can click and you go right to the item on Amazon and you push send to my house and it's there in 2 days, because there's no thought. And if there's no thought, you do it.
Right. Well, I have done that.
No, believe me, you should see all the packages I got this week.
Sometimes on occasions when I shouldn't. Let's get to your final mistake that people are making. Posting too much or too little.
Okay, so
talk about that.
You cannot just be like, I haven't posted in 6 months, and now I'm going to throw up 20 posts all of a sudden, and everybody's going to know. You're not going to show up in anybody's feed. You'll show up. See, there's 2 ways to look at it. If you haven't posted in a long time, it'll post that one post out to everybody because it wants to get you hooked back in. But then after a few posts, it'll fade back to nothing because it's like, oh, you're back, we got you. So you just want to always keep a steady flow. If you can't commit to posting every day, which my recommendation is to post once a day on Instagram 7 days a week. Look at what your times are. You can track your times every month. Right now, everything's treading really early. It seems like people are waking up, getting on the internet, staying on the internet through the workday, logging off, and around 7 or 8 o'clock, they are all on TikTok. People are not on the other platforms at night. So these are all things to start thinking about when you're, doing your strategy. But people who post too much, I don't need 70. First of all, don't go to a comedy show and ever record a comedian, period. But if you do, record them during their intro. Say I was at so-and-so's show and put your phone down. Nobody wants to see 20 videos of you at a show, badly lit, badly sounding. But I get, we want to show people we were at things. We want to share these experiences, which is great.
So I want to second that on behalf of all the comedians who are working out new material. But I think the same also goes for concerts where you're in the back row, and it's like, oh, there's the Foo Fighters, 3 miles away.
I know I'm old,
okay,
so I'm going to date myself here. But I've always loved No Doubt, and actually saw them for the first time when I was 15 years old with my dad and Christy, who I do live in Detroit with. We've been friends since we were 12 or 13. And No Doubt, I had seen a bunch of times, all those Warped tours back in the day, whatever. And 2009, they did a reunion tour. It was at the Palace. It was the first time people had video on their phones. I was on the floor, ready for a mosh pit with my girlfriends. We took a limo there. Everybody was sauced up, having a good time. And as Gwen Stefani hit the stage in unison, I watched every hand go up. And it was the first time it ever had. Nobody ever pulled out a camera at a show or anything, and I was like, what is everyone doing? No Doubt is on the stage. And it was so funny because back then, we're talking flip phones. Like, you couldn't even tell what the grainy thing was, but people wanted to share it, right? But it's like, we need to find an in-between from that excitement of 2009 to now, just for like respect of artists, but also anything. Like, nobody wants to see a million of anything. If your story's too long, people won't watch it. If your story is really short, they'll just kind of, go through. So I try to stay in the 3 to 5 slides. I try to throw up 3 to 5 slides about whatever my story is in the morning and in the evening. Because the other cool thing is stories kind of let you hit people directly. They'll always be moved to the front of your followers. So like in the morning, I try to hit them once. In the evening, I try to hit them once so I can hopefully show up in their feed.
All right. So those are some great tips. One last thing that we ask everybody before they leave here is we want to know... Sadie Quagliotto, what is your worst piece of advice that you have ever received?
So it's so easy. It's not that I have received it, but I think a lot of people have received it. It seems like at some point in the last 5 years, it started with hairstylists, but it has gone across the gambit of people.
Yes.
Somebody taught a webinar and told people to like tag local businesses. So I'll see a hairdresser, or let's say you posted and you tag Bobcat Bonnie's, but the post is about an event that's,
somewhere else
in Romeo or
right,
something,
right.
Because you think it's going to help you, is literally never going to help you. All it's going to do is make whoever you tagged incredibly mad. And if they're smart at what they're doing, because they don't want you to show up in their tagged feed, because why would you? You have nothing to do with their business. They're going to untag you. And it's literally going to hurt your post, because Instagram's going to say, oh, this lady tagged this person and then they took off the tag, so it's going to drop you in views anyways. So the key to getting seen by tagging, it seems like the person who taught it wrong, is you want to tag a city. So if I am looking maybe to do a show in Royal Oak, but I'm not in Royal Oak, that's okay. I'm going to tag Royal Oak as my location. The reason that's going to help me instead of hurt me, Royal Oak, the city, can't take me off of that. They have nothing to do with it. It's just a location tag. But if there's people in Royal Oak who follow hashtag Royal Oak, I follow, where I live, I follow hashtag downtown Detroit, I follow hashtag downtown Ferndale, hashtag downtown Royal Oak personally, as a person. Because I like to see what people in those areas are posting. Maybe I find an event or a flyer that way. So that's the best way to reach people in that city, is anybody who's active and involved in that city is probably going to be following that hashtag, and now you're going to show up in their feed even though they don't follow you. So the tagging pet peeve here is stop tagging Shinola. Stop tagging, all these businesses that have nothing to do. Only tag who wants to be tagged. Use the location as how you...
So this is why Eminem keeps untagging me in all the posts.
He just wants to have something to do with you.
He doesn't want, right.
And my other biggest life pet peeve is people telling you that you shouldn't make mistakes or that things have to be perfect. Like, all I've ever done is make mistakes in my life, and they teach me how to be better. I make social media mistakes all the time. I spell things wrong. I do things wrong. I tag things. It is fun and fluid, and nobody knows what they're doing. I have all these ideas and these patterns and these things I've learned, but it's still new. We are still, 2016 is really when Instagram took off, and they really didn't get monetized till 2018 in a super substantial way. So people think, younger people, this has been around forever, this is how you do it. There is no how you do it. Like, instead of following what other people are doing, put out what you think your people would find is interesting, track how it's doing, and then use the stuff that's going well to do more stuff.
All right. Well, this is great advice. If people want to know more, of course, your website is hipindetroit.com. And you have a list there of classes, for example?
So I just started classes. Okay. I'm doing them with Planet Ant. They're going to be about every 4 to 6 weeks.
And these are classes for artists and entertainers, solopreneurs?
Yeah, they're for anybody who wants to understand what social media is and how to use it. It's for anybody, a band, a brand, an artist, anything, influencer, whatever you want to do. I want to help you in an hour get there. I'm sick of watching people put so much work into something and not see the results that they want. And I know a lot of artists, like, you can't afford somebody like me to manage I cost a lot of money. Like, I know that. So there's a lot of things that you can just be doing if you're going to put the effort in. My thought is, if you're going to put the effort in, get something for it. Don't just do it and waste your time. And if you're not going to get anything, don't even put the effort in.
All right, cool. Well, people should go check it out. Again, it's hipindetroit.com. Sadie, thank you so much for joining us. This was fantastic.
Thanks. This was fun.
All right, until next time, Detroit's moving. Keep up.